The 17 News at Sunrise podcast is brought to you by Clinica Sierra Vista.
Welcome back to the 17 News at Sunrise podcast, where we share your news on your schedule.
Working in the spirit of the Golden Empire, this is 17 News at Sunrise.
And good morning. Thanks for waking up with us. I'm Maddie Jansen alongside Chris Burton in This Morning for Alex. And
we begin this morning with the latest on the coronavirus in Kern County. Public Health yesterday announced another 1,240 people have tested positive for COVID-19. No new deaths were announced. The most recent data shows a significant drop in patients hospitalized with the virus. 287 people are being treated in local hospitals this morning. That is 31 fewer than the previous number. 50 of those patients are fighting for their lives in ICUs. Data shows that 90% of the people currently hospitalized are unvaccinated.
And an update now on a story we first brought to you yesterday on Sunrise. The future of Kingston Healthcare Center is in jeopardy as it's set to lose its status as a nursing facility. 17 News has obtained a letter from the Department of Health and Human Services saying that Medicare and Medicaid will no longer provide funding to Kingston Healthcare Center. It also says it will no longer be recognized as a nursing facility. The reason? Multiple violations, including failing to maintain adequate quality of life. The notice says the agreement between Medicare and Medicaid will be terminated on Sunday. Medicare rates Kingston as the worst nursing facility in Kern County. At the beginning of the pandemic, more than 100 residents tested positive for COVID-19 in the 184-bed facility, and 19 died. We reached out to Kingston about the notice. They say they cannot provide any further information.
An investigation is underway this morning after a deadly crash. One person was killed, but Good Samaritans saved the life of another. It happened on Panama Lane, just west of Acres Road, around 6:30 last night. Bakersfield police say a Mustang was headed east on Panama. The driver lost control and crossed into the westbound lanes, where he hit another vehicle. The driver of that vehicle, a woman, was killed, and the passenger was hurt. Witnesses noticed smoke coming from the Mustang after the crash and pulled the driver out before it went up in flames. As you can see, the investigation in this crash is still ongoing.
Meantime, crews spent hours cleaning up yesterday after a massive fire broke out in a vacant home in northeast Bakersfield. The home on North Kern Street collapsed after being enveloped in flames. The Bakersfield Fire Department responded to the scene. Officials say no one was hurt and nearby homes were not threatened. And a reminder, we continue to collect toys to help replace the more than 2,000 toys destroyed in a fire that broke out Monday in Oildale. A trailer parked next to Instant Mini Storage off State Road went up in flames and then spread to nearby storage facilities, taking with it toys donated to the Bakersfield Homeless Center. The community's coming together to support the center, including Toys for Tots. The nonprofit will be storing the items for the center and even matching the number of toys we receive at our station.
It's a very big incentive to try to help them get back on their feet, and so bring a toy and we're going to give them a toy, so it's a win-win for everyone.
If you'd like to donate, you can bring the toys by our studios in downtown Bakersfield during regular business hours.
From our 17 follow-up file, the mother of a 16-year-old boy killed in a hit-and-run crash is asking the public to come out in remembrance of him at a memorial service next week. 16-year-old Angel Berriman was hit by a car last Tuesday as he crossed Niles Street at Brentwood Drive. The driver of the vehicle that hit him has not been found. Berriman's mother says the public is invited to the service next Tuesday at 10 a.m. at Basham Funeral Care on Niles Street. Attendees are asked to wear lavender, which was Angel's favorite color. The family has also started a GoFundMe to help with medical and funeral expenses. So far, they've raised nearly $15,000 of their $20,000 goal. If you'd like to donate, head to kget.com for a link. Meantime, the CHP in Bakersfield says it's partnering with the Bakersfield Police Department to try and find that driver who caused the deadly crash. The California Highway Patrol says it has received numerous leads and tips from the public already, but are still asking for the public's help. If you know anything about where the driver of the vehicle that killed Angel Berriman may be, you're asked to call CHP at 396-6600.
Happening around town, possible changes ahead in the way Bakersfield selects its police chief going forward. City Manager Christian Clegg gave a presentation before the City Council yesterday on the possibility of adding an amendment to the city charter that, if approved, would allow the city to recruit nationally and hire police chiefs from outside Bakersfield. According to the city charter, the police chief must be selected from within the upper ranks of the BPD. But the State Department of Justice, as part of its civil rights settlement with BPD, says the city must prepare a proposed charter amendment for the November 2022 general election, asking voters to allow the city to hire future police chiefs from agencies other than Bakersfield Police. Placing the question on the November ballot would cost the city about $100,000.
The Bakersfield City Council has declared February as Safe Surrender Baby Awareness Month in Bakersfield. No shame, no blame, no names. That was the message the council showed before Mayor Karen Go presented the Safely Surrendered Baby Coalition with the proclamation. The video will be playing in several movie theaters this month in hopes of reminding people that this law exists. The coalition says 90 babies were safely surrendered in Kern County since tracking began in 2006, including 8 in 2020. Newborn babies can be safely surrendered at any Kern County emergency room or fire station within 72 hours of birth. No questions are asked, and anyone who does so has 14 days to change their mind. Your time now is 5:31, and U.S. Special Operations Forces conducted a large-scale counterterrorism raid in northwestern Syria overnight in what the Pentagon said was a successful mission. President Biden said the operation took out ISIS leader Ibrahim al-Hashimi al-Quraishi. The opposition's Syrian Civil Defense, also known as White Helmets, said at least 13 people were killed, including 6 children and 4 women. The Pentagon said it would provide more information when it was available.
Also making news around the world, the U.S. is sending more troops to Eastern Europe amid a standoff over Russia's military buildup near Ukraine. The Pentagon says the move is temporary as Russia leaves the world guessing on what it will do next. NBC's Bree Jackson's in Washington with the latest.
Good morning, Maddie. The Biden administration says it's working closely with NATO allies on both diplomacy as well as on preparations to take swift action should Russia invade Ukraine. New satellite images show Russia's military buildup along Ukraine's border, further escalating fears Russia could invade.
As long as he's acting aggressively, we're going to make sure we reassure our NATO allies in Eastern Europe that we're there.
President Biden signing off on deploying 3,000 troops to Eastern Europe. The Defense Department says 1,000 soldiers based in Germany will deploy to Romania, and 2,000 troops from Fort Bragg in North Carolina will head to Poland and Germany.
These movements are unmistakable signals to the world that we stand ready to reassure our NATO allies and deter and defend against any aggression.
But Russia continues to deny plans of an invasion, despite stationing more than 100,000 Russian troops near Ukraine. The Kremlin calling the U.S. troop deployments unfounded and destructive. U.S. officials contend Russia's actions prompted the move.
There has been a lining up of Russian artillery and troops in a way that suggests that there may be aggressive action.
On Capitol Hill, there's division over the administration's response.
Bad idea. It's a mistake. It's a mistake to send more American troops to Europe at this time.
I think it's important that we do everything we can to strengthen our NATO allies.
Lawmakers nearing an agreement on one thing, a massive sanctions package targeting Russia's economy. Both U.S. and Russian officials insist a path to diplomacy remains. Later today, the Biden administration will brief members of Congress on the situation in Ukraine. In Washington, I'm Bree Jackson, 17 News.
Liftoff of L-87. Go Falcon, go, go.
A classified satellite for the U.S. National Reconnaissance Office was launched into space yesterday from Vandenberg Space Force Base. The satellite lifted off just after noon aboard a 2-stage SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket. The launch was live streamed until the first stage completed its burn and separated from the second stage. Under NRO rules, coverage of the flight to orbit ended at that point. The NRO only described the satellite as a national security payload.
Making headlines around the state, a huge budget surplus has some lawmakers thinking about another round of payments to California residents. State Senator Brian Jones yesterday made the case for direct payments to Californians. In a video, he broke down the state's projected budget surplus with rice.
If each grain of rice is $100,000, that means California's $45 billion surplus as taxes overcollected by this much.
Jones notes that's enough to give $1,100 back to each Californian and more than $4,000 for a family of 4. Governor Newsom did not include those payments in his proposed state budget last month, but he's not ruled out sending payments to residents. Waiting until May to decide how to spend the money could put lawmakers and the governor in a tough position, giving them only weeks to negotiate with the budget deadline on June 15th.
Education news now. There's a growing effort to ban books from school libraries, with certain titles disappearing from shelves. An NBC News investigation found at least a dozen Texas districts have abruptly removed books about race, gender, and sexual identity. Hundreds of titles have been pulled from schools around the nation, sometimes over objections of school librarians, several of whom told NBC News they face increasingly hostile work environments and mounting pressure to preemptively pull books that might draw complaints.
Do librarians feel safe in their jobs right now?
Librarians are being asked to do things that really are against their code of ethics, and that makes them fearful to speak up.
A majority of the books that faced parental complaints involved topics of racism or sexuality and featured LGBTQ characters or passages about sex. Governor Greg Abbott has called for criminal charges against any school staff member who provides access to novels that some conservatives label pornography. Conservative activist group Moms for Liberty say these books are indoctrinating kids to a dangerous ideology. And a local bookstore, Russo's, is weighing in on this book banning effort. They posted a tweet saying, quote, "If you are on a school board and actively voting to ban books, you are a pathetic human being and probably not very educated."
Your time now 5:37. In your 17 Health Watch, tomorrow the American Heart Association encourages you to turn Kern County red, spreading awareness for the #1 health issue facing women. Cardiovascular disease kills more women than all forms of cancer combined, accounting for about a third of deaths nationwide. Experts say Go Red for Women is crucial to bringing attention to the disease so that so often remains invisible.
We've got patients in cardiovascular rehab that have been athletes in this community who are young, who you would never guess. Going red and wearing red just kind of helps spark some of those conversations.
Burt says among the top risk factors for cardiovascular disease are a history of smoking, a lack of exercise, and a diet high in fats and meats. There are steps people can take to lower their risk, like staying active and putting more color on your plate, but routine health checkups are also critical to catching cardiovascular disease early. Women develop a significantly higher risk of disease at 55, and men should get checkups after 45.
Working in the spirit of the Golden Empire, this is 17 News at Sunrise.
The 17 News at Sunrise podcast is a production of KGET and Nexstar Media Group. For more on all of the headlines in today's show, head to kget.com.